I'll be
tonight,
right here.
Turkey, that within the next 10 years is going to be the world's 5th largest economy. Did you know that? Within the next 10 years, Turkey is slated to be the 5th largest economy in the world. Well, they're telling the United States, sorry, but we've decided to go with Russia's S-400. And, you know, obviously the United States does not want Turkey to do that. The United States did not want China to do that, but they did. India to do that, but they did. Iran wants it, but so far Russia hasn't done that deal. So as we reported last night, the S-400 is turning out to be one of the most sought-after weapon systems in the world because it's faster, has more range over the U.S. missiles, and is also apparently a whole lot cheaper. Joining us now, former Naval Intelligence Officer John Jordan. And by the way, since you're still here, Michelle, China purchased the S-400. Weren't they one of the first?
Right. It was the first country to import the S-400, but the PLA, let's remember, has been using the S-300 for over a decade now. So it was easier for them to pick up the S-400 than, you know, for example, Turkey or India.
So it was just kind of a transition.
Right. It was, the S-400 was delivered to China last year, and it was successfully tested, but it's not like this is a new relationship between China and Russia.
So John Jordan joins us now to talk about the S-400. We've been talking about this for over the last 48 hours, and we're struck with the demand for this thing. Can you explain this to us?
Well, the S-400 may be the most successful Russian system devised since the T-34 tank in World War II. And here's why. It is a system which is area denial, and it's political as well as it is military. For example, it not only has great range and is able to defend a large area, including low-level flying vehicles like cruise missiles, it has an even more important capability, and that is it is able to observe fifth-generation fighters like the F-22 and F-35 and collect data on them, which data then can be used or sold or conveyed to another party. So just having this system there, and it's not just missiles, it's a collection of radars and computers and operators. So it's able to collect this data, so a lot of operators of fifth-generation fighters like the U.S., Israel, and others are loath to operate in airspace occupied by an S-400 because they don't want to compromise a lot of the stealth technology as well as the data link technology called Link 16. They don't want that compromised. So without ever having to fire a shot, Russia has fielded a system which has impacted the battlefields over Syria, and now it may effectively kick the U.S. Air Force out of Incirlik in Turkey because the U.S. Air Force won't be comfortable having F-35s operate in such close proximity to S-400 systems where that data can be collected.
So it's not only its reach of its missiles, but its intel capabilities from a radar standpoint and beyond are so vast that it keeps countries from deploying their weapons system. Let me ask you a question. Is there any evidence of any country today involved in some kind of conflagration that has failed to do something because of its respect for the S-400?
Yes, I would suggest right now it would be it constrains Western action over Syria. And again, it's not just concern over the missiles or the interceptors themselves. It's the system's ability to compromise aspects of stealth technology like waveform and data link, Link 16, as well as the identification friend and foe system. So it is its ability to gather intelligence which could potentially degrade the effectiveness of fifth-generation fighters in subsequent conflicts, even with other parties.
When you say Western countries, are you referring to Israel?
I'm referring to operators of U.S.-made fifth-generation systems. I mean, specifically the F-35, and that could mean Israel.
Wow.
Which is also, I suspect, why Russia refused to sell it to Iran. John,
I have a question for you. Does the Lockheed Martin THAAD missile defense system have the same intelligence gathering capabilities that Russia's S-400 does?
No, it doesn't. It also doesn't have, it's not as effective in defending as large a circle from a ballistic missile. The S-400 has a ballistic point defense capability of roughly 60 kilometers, where THAAD and Patriot are in the 30-kilometer range. So it's the S-400's ability to deal with low-flying targets as well as ballistic inbounds, which is high-altitude, high-velocity weapons, and to defend a larger area, as well as gathering that intelligence.
And John, you have obviously some very good sources when it comes to military hardware and this type of thing. And what we're hearing you say tonight is that the power, the value of the S-400 goes beyond just what we've been talking about, which is reach and mobility, et cetera, but actually its ability to scope out and find out vast areas of what other countries may be doing if they're flying a plane or a jet in their space. Did I get that right?
Correct. Yeah. That is absolutely right, especially if it's operated by competent, especially by the manufacturer. In this case, Russians, they'll be able to gather all types of intelligence which would compromise and degrade the effectiveness of those fighters going forward. And that's a huge component of the S-400's value.
Yeah, because there's nothing better for having people not engage each other than respect, which seems to be what this story is turning out to be. John Jordan, as usual, great stuff, smart man. We appreciate you taking time to share this with us, and you too, Michelle. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Rick Sanchez. You found us on YouTube, and that's awesome. But you know what? I'm also live every night at 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern on DirecTV and Dish and cable and satellite, the RT app, and Pluto TV. I'll see you there.